I'm quite literally saying the exact same thing. But what I'm trying to reiterate is this: the only reason why we understand or why we feel like that is the reason why aliens are coming to invade us is because that is the only way we can comprehend hierarchical expression of power, because we feel like that is why they might. If we were to look at this beyond the surface and just take a moment to look at this logically, we humans, we haven't even reached level 1 of the Kardashev civilization scale, and yet we already know how to evade slave labor. Ethical reasons by the side, but the major reason we understand that is because enslaving another being that is likely to perish is not profitable, is not efficient, and is not effective. So we found a way to use machines and AI in order to help us in that aspect. So why would an alien civilization that is way ahead of us in almost everything, because they've obviously unlocked something we can't unlock, which is interstellar travel, come all the way here just to enslave our very feeble selves? To do what exactly? And this manifests in many other ways. Aside from we expressing our fear in enslavement, there are people who genuinely feel like aliens will come here to extract minerals. But here's the thing: what minerals? Because in the grand scheme of things, on a universal scale, there are so much more minerals existing in larger quantities all over the universe, all scattered, that would make everything we have on Earth seem like trace elements. There are literally planets that rain that rain diamonds. There are literally planets that rain shards of glass. There are literally nebula clouds out there that is so rich in alcoholic content that it can fill our oceans. So why are they coming here to extract minerals? I was trying to express this, or trying to explain this from a psychological standpoint. The reason why we feel that is because that is the way our brain understands the expression of power dynamic. I use the animals in the wild as an example because of this, or maybe I wasn't so clear with my explanation. The example is this: most animals in the wild is either eat or be eaten, meaning that the only way that they can express their power dynamic is, if I am stronger than you, I'm likely going to use you as a means to survive. If I am weaker than you, you are likely going to use me as a means to survive. Now, we humans, we come and throw that whole balance off by choosing to do what? Neither eat them or be eaten by them, but we choose to observe them. We choose to learn about them. Now, the introduction to of a third option to that whole dynamic is a direct exhibition or expression of how different, in terms of understanding or in terms of logical intelligent development, between us and these said creatures, because these said creatures don't know more than these two things. But we choosing to bring a third option really highlights just how different we are in cognitive development. Now, on a larger scale, if a being that is also much more cognitive developed than we are were to come to this planet, they are going to do more than the options that we've brought up. Why? Because their option is going to be a clear, distinct expression as to how they are much more intelligent than us. Why do we feel like power can only be exhibited by a slave, or by being a slave or being a slave owner? Why do we feel like power can only be exhibited by coming to extract precious land minerals? Because that is all we know. That is about how intelligent we can get, and nothing more of that. An alien will likely come here to throw this off balance, and that is going to be the reason as to why they are much more intelligent than us, or that's going to prove a point as to why they're much more intelligent. But that's, by the way, it was making me stray off from my point, because I'm now getting too literal with this instance. I was just trying to use that as an overall analogy, but here's what I'm trying to say. When we are being faced with certain circumstances, often deeply emotionally tethered circumstances, what we feel is going to happen to us is not as a result of the reality surrounding it, but what we feel might happen to us might is a result of how we feel we deserve how it's meant to be happened, if that makes any sense. If you were to be in a scenario whereby you expect yourself to be shamed, or you expect yourself to be oppressed, it's because deep down you feel like you deserve to be shamed and or oppressed. If you are faced with a life-threatening scenario and you feel like you are probably going to be killed, is because you feel like that thing that you have done is probably deserving of you being killed. It is not, what you think is not a label or is not a proof of how the scenario is actually happening, but rather it's a proof of what you think you deserve subconsciously.